All right, thanks, guys. Maryland takes on Ohio State. 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff at Ohio State. The Buckeyes are minus 42, totals at 63. Now, we haven't seen a whole lot of movement on this total. We did see a 1-point fade of the Buckeyes in the early wagering. Ohio State opened 43, down to 42. Total is 63, and 71% of the consensus are leaning toward the Buckeyes. Now, Ohio State is 8-0 straight up on the year, 7-1 against the number, doing a very good job cashing for their backers. Meanwhile, Maryland on the other side, just 3-6 straight up, 4-5 against the spread. Pretty big number here, but I think Ohio State should be able to do it at home. Give me the Buckeyes minus 42. In the over 63 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for college football week 11. But before we get into some more of that, I just want to quickly remind you to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. We do daily premium selections on that website, daily personal plays. We have a bunch of memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to, beginning at just $1.99 per month. Now, we went 6-3 in our last 9 premium selections on that website. We're currently 75% in our last 15 plays. We're also 65% for the entire college football season on that website. You can also access my current record for free right on the homepage. That is patreon.com/BrockPage. Link for that site is in the description section below. All right, let's go ahead and dive back into some more quick picks, more lines and personal leans here for college football week 11. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Baylor taking on TCU, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff in that game. Baylor's minus 1.5, totals at 52. Now, we did see movement on both the spread and the total in this one. We saw a half a point move toward Baylor and movement downward on the total. The Bears open minus 1 up to 1.5. Total open 53 down to 52. 69% of the consensus are leaning Baylor. And at the moment, TCU is minus 101 on the money line. Now, Baylor's 8-0 straight up on the year, 4-4 against the number. Meanwhile, TCU 4-4 straight up, 3-5 against the spread. I think this is a pretty good spot for Baylor backers. I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it down, and take Baylor minus 1 and the over 52 in that game. Next matchup, East Carolina taking on SMU, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff in that game. SMU's 23.5, total 69. 68% are leaning SMU, and at the moment ECU is plus 1375 on the money line. East Carolina just 3-6 straight up on the year. Meanwhile, SMU on the other side, 8-1 straight up, 7-2 against the number. I'm going to lean toward the Mustangs. Give me SMU minus 23.5 in the under 69 in that game. Next matchup, Penn State taking on Minnesota. Should be a good one. This is a 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff in that matchup. Penn State's minus 7, total at 48. Not a whole lot of movement on this total. We did see movement upward on the spread, however. We saw movement toward Penn State. They opened 6.5 up to minus 7. Total's 48. 61% are leaning Penn State. 55% shaded toward the under. Right now, Minnesota's plus 215 on the money line. Penn State 8-0 straight up on the year. 5-3 against the number. They look very good, and that defense is unbelievable. I'm going to lean toward the Nittany Lions in this one. Give me Penn State minus 7 and the under 48 in that game. Next matchup, Florida hosting Vanderbilt. And I'm not so sure I have that. Yes, we do. Florida hosting Vanderbilt, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff in that game. Florida's minus 25, total open 47.5, down to 47. 75% are leaning Florida, 80% shaded toward the over. Right now, Vanderbilt is plus 1,500 on the money line. The Gators are just 4-5 against the spread overall for the year. They also failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3. I think Vandy should keep it within 25. I'm not seeing a whole lot of points scored in this one. Give me Vanderbilt plus 25 in the under 47 in that game. Next matchup, Kansas State taking on Texas. And that's going to be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff in that matchup there. Texas is minus 5.5. Totals 58 and a hook. We saw a half a point move toward the Longhorns and movement upward on the total. Texas opened 5 up to 5.5. Total open 58 up to 58 and a hook. 61% are leaning Kansas State. And at the moment, K-State is plus 175 on the money line. Now, K-State is 6-2 straight up on the year. They're also 6-2 against the spread. Meanwhile, Texas they've failed to cover in 4 out of their 8 games. So I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it up, and take K-State plus 6 in the over 58.5 in that game. Next matchup, the one everybody's going to be watching. LSU taking on Bama, 3:30 Eastern kickoff in that game. Alabama 6.5, total 64 and a hook. 59% are leaning Tigers, 62% shaded toward the over. Right now, LSU is plus 200 on the money line. LSU's failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3 games. Meanwhile, Alabama 8-0 straight up on the year. They've successfully covered the number in 2 out of their last 3 themselves. I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it down, and take Alabama minus 6 in the over 64.5 in that game. Next matchup, UConn taking on Cincy. Probably don't have that on the board, but that is going to be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff there. Cincinnati's minus 35, total open 55.5 up to 57. 72% are leaning Cincinnati. UConn just 2-7 straight up on the year, 4-5 against the number. Meanwhile, Cincy 7-1 straight up on the year, 5-3 against the spread. I'm going to lean Cincinnati minus 35 in the over 57 in that game. Next matchup, Wake Forest taking on Virginia Tech. And that is going to be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff in that game. Wake Forest is minus 2.5 on the road, total 65. We saw a half a point fade of Wake Forest and movement downward on the total. The Demon Deacons open minus 3, down to minus 2.5. Total open 65.5, down to 65 even. 73% are leaning Wake Forest. And at the moment, the Hokies are plus 130 on the money line. Wake Forest 7-1 straight up on the year, 5-3 against the spread. Meanwhile, Virginia Tech, they failed to cover in 5 out of their 8 games this year. I'm going to buy the half a point, buy it down, and take Wake Forest minus 2 in the under 65 in that game. Next matchup, Iowa taking on the Badgers, 4 o'clock, Wisconsin. The Badgers are 8.5, total 38 and a hook. We saw a 3-point move toward Wisconsin and movement upward on the total. Wisconsin open 5.5 up to 8.5, total open 38 up to 38 and a hook. 56% of the consensus are leaning toward Wisconsin. And at the moment, Iowa is plus 260 on the money line. Iowa 6-2 straight up on the year, one of the best defenses in college football. They're also 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 in Madison. If you're into historical trends, I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it up, and take Iowa plus 9 in the under 38.5 in that game. Next matchup, Missouri taking on Georgia, 7 o'clock, Georgia. The Bulldogs are minus 17, total 47. Pretty good two-way action on this spread. Haven't seen a whole lot of movement there. We did see a 1.5 point move downward on the total. The Bulldogs open and remain minus 17, total open 48.5, down to 47. 66% are leaning Bulldogs. And at the moment, Missouri is plus 1,300 on the money line. Now, Georgia is just 1-4 against the number at home, 4-4 ATS overall for the year. Missouri on the other side, 5-3 straight up on their side of things. Mizzou should keep it close. They might lose by 16, but I think they'll keep it within 17. Give me Missouri plus 17 and the under 47 in that game. Next matchup, Clemson traveling to NC State, 7:30 Eastern kickoff in that game. Clemson's minus 31, total 55. Saw a 1-point fade of Clemson and movement upward on the total. The Tigers open 32, down to 31. Total open 54, up to 55. 74% of the consensus are leaning toward Clemson. And right now, Clemson 9-0 on the year, 6-3 against the spread. NC State just 4-4 on the year, and terrible against the number. They're just 2-6 against the spread in those 8 games. I'm going to lean toward Clemson minus 31 and the under 55 in that game. Yes, I'm thinking could be a shutout. Could be a shutout in that one. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Notre Dame taking on Duke. And we should have that on the board, but we don't. We do not have that on the board. But anyway, Notre Dame traveling to Duke. And that's going to be a 7:30 Eastern kickoff in that game. The Fighting Irish are minus 7, total 53. So a half a point fade of Notre Dame and movement downward on the total. The Fighting Irish open 7.5, down to minus 7. Total open 53.5, down to 53. Right now the Blue Devils are plus 220 on the money line. for an upset win at home. They're also just 3-5 against the spread on the year. Notre Dame 6-2 straight up on the year. Give me Notre Dame -7 in the over 53 in that game. Next matchup, Iowa State taking on Oklahoma. 8 o'clock kickoff in that game. Oklahoma's -13.5, total 66 and a hook. We saw a half a point move toward Oklahoma and movement upward on the total. The Sooners open 13 up to 13.5. Total open 66 up to 66 and a hook. 69% are leaning Sooners, 87% shaded toward the over. Right now the Cyclones are plus 410 on the money line. Oklahoma's 7-1 straight up on the year. They can score a ton of points. I'm going to lean Oklahoma -13.5, but the under 66 and a hook in that game. And we're going to slide into this next one. It is going to be Wyoming taking on Boise State, 10:15 Eastern kickoff in that matchup. Boise State's -13, total 47. We saw a half a point move toward Boise State, movement downward on the total. The Broncos open 12.5 up to 13, total open 47.5 down to 47. 56% are leaning Boise State, and at the moment, Wyoming is plus 400 on the money line. Boise State 7-1 straight up on the year, 5-3 against the number. I like them in this spot here. Give me Boise State -13 and the over 47 in that game. And we're going to slide into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Nevada, San Diego State, 10:30 Eastern kickoff in that game. San Diego State's -17, total at 40.5. We saw a half a point move toward San Diego State and movement downward on the total. San Diego State opened 16.5 up to 17, total open 42 down to 40 and a hook. 53% are leaning towards San Diego State, 60% shaded toward the over. Right now, Nevada is plus 600 on the money line. The Wolfpack is just 3-6 against the number for the season. Meanwhile, San Diego State 7-1 straight up, 5-3 against the number. Give me San Diego State -17 and the over 40.5 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and slide into our quick pick recap brought to you by patreon.com/ProgPage. I like San Diego State -17 over 40.5. Boise -13 over 47. Oklahoma -13.5 in the under 66 and a hook. Notre Dame -7 over 53. I got Clemson -31 under 55. Missouri +17 under 47. Iowa +9 under 38.5. Wake Forest -2 under 65. Cincinnati -35 over 57. Alabama -6 over 64.5. I got K-State +6 over 58 and a hook. Vanderbilt +25 under 47. Penn State Nittany Lions -7 under 48. Ohio State Buckeyes -42 over 63. SMU -23.5 in the under 69. And last but certainly not least, I got the Baylor Bears -1 in the over 52 in that game. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me. Once again, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/ProgPage, where we are 6-3 in our last 9 premium selections on that site. That's going to improve our record to 75% in our last 15. We're also hitting at 62% in our last 13 NFL package plays, and we're currently hitting at 65% for the entire college football season. We do daily premium selections on that website. We have a bunch of different tiers, memberships, and packages that you can subscribe to, beginning at just $1.99 per month. You can also access my current record for free right on the homepage. That is patreon.com/ProgPage. Link for that site is in the description section below. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And don't forget to check me out at patreon.com/ProgPage.